Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. Right here, I've got Bitcoin on the daily and still really not too much movement for the King Crypto. Still trading at around 29,300. We've been just seeing this price vacillating for the last 2 months or so. And I feel like a bit of a broken record at this point because, there's really not too much to report. We're trading on low volume down here. After we did see this push for Bitcoin, we saw high volume bars, but then volume just has kind of tapered down. And, this has been the trend, as I've said, over the last couple of months, but we have been seeing a steady increase since December of 2022, since January of 23. Nevertheless, guys, sometimes some coins may surprise you. Whalewire here posting this, a cryptocurrency token called Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu. Just surpassed a $150 million market cap. We aren't in a bubble, bro. Yeah, okay. Can you even believe it? And I think even Rob Art was over there on Twitter, joked that, look at all that utility pumping this Harry Potter, Obama, whatever coin. Let's just look it up here. Harry Potter. Here it is. Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic. Oh my God. Okay. Wow. Look at that. On the daily, we've got this coin pumping. And, I look at this, and this is just a recipe for a huge crash coming down the pike. It did go as high as about 68 cents on this particular exchange, on the Poloniex exchange. I was looking at it on other exchanges as well. Harry Potter. So that was Poloniex. What about Crypto.com? We got a bit of a different looking chart here. I don't know. Are these even all the same coins? No, this is an ERC20 token. So I don't even know. Clearly, we are seeing these coins pump. In this particular case, on this exchange, we have seen over a 300% increase since July 24th. So there you have it, guys. Some coins are going to pump despite what Bitcoin is doing, despite what the rest of the market is doing. Again, more reason to diversify into different coins, and this is what I'm doing on my Patreon. I'm opening up my entire crypto portfolio, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my positions in XRP and Bitcoin, HBAR, and I have a few others. Solana's another one, and then there's the 15 cryptocurrencies that I've diversified into for this coming run. For my patrons, I did put in $10,000, and we're going to trade this all the way up, guys. On top of that, though, for only $5 a month, I'm going to, again, give you guys some insight on the current positions that I'm holding. So again, my XRP, my Bitcoin, all those typical cryptocurrencies that I talk about on the channel. So patreon.com/workingmoney channel, only $5 a month. And we're going to keep track of where these coins are going. Of course, some could pop tomorrow, like the Harry Potter Obama coin, and we just got to be ready to trade them at a moment's notice. So I purposely kept it affordable, $5 a month, so you guys can stay with me, keep track, and follow these coins into the coming bull run. Here, let's take a look at XRP right now. XRP right now trading at about 62.5. So not too much movement for XRP. It's going to follow Bitcoin at this point, just like the rest of the market. Good news for XRP, though, it is still holding support. It did go up significantly on the day that we got the judge's verdict for the XRP Ripple lawsuit, July the 13th. We were hoping we were going to continue to see, the rally move upward based on hype and FOMO, but it was short-lived, and now we are down. So we're back following the market, but we are still, above where we were before at around 45, 46, 47 cents, give or take. We're also staying above these support levels here, right? Former resistance would be new support, but we're even staying above those levels, so that is good news too. Stock Money Lizards here posting this. Many have asked to give some more intel on this one. This structure is not only the typical BTC accumulation distribution pattern, but it also follows the Dow cycle pattern, okay? Overbought cycle peak, end of the bear market, then the pre-halving peak, and post-halving breakout. Take a look at this, guys. The full cycle, you guys can see it here. This was the last cycle, the A, B, C, D. Now we're in A, B, C, making our way up here, so projecting where that could go next. The D, a bit of a downturn, and then finally the blow off top. That is going to be 2024, 25, moving to new all-time highs, and then 2026, likely going to see the next bear market. So just giving us a bit of a projection. And also notice here that that he's mentioning that it does follow the Dow cycle as well. So let's just bring up the DJI real quickly here. And we've got the Dow Jones here on the daily. You guys can see Dow Jones making its way up. So looking promising, but really the question is, are we going to match these all-time highs for the Dow Jones? Actually, let me get rid of that. I'm going to throw on a horizontal line to give you a more accurate representation of where we need to go to, confirm a bullish stock market. Although I feel like that's kind of hard to justify now that we just got word that Michael Burry has opened a massive leveraged short position or short positions on the stock market. 93% of Michael Burry's portfolio is currently short market indexes. The last time he made a big bet like this was his famous 2008 recession prediction. So guys, take a look at this. Short positions, Michael Burry, and I still maintain The Big Short is probably one of my favorite financial movies that Hollywood has come out with. I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably seen that film. So basically, if he's wrong, he loses 93% of his portfolio and the stock market continues to make its way up. But he has been made famous for making that legendary call way back in 2007, 2008, when everybody thought he was crazy. This is what he called. And sure enough, he made over $1 billion for his clients at that time. So that was 2008, 2009. Now he's making another short call, guys. And, it's looking precarious. I would not doubt for a second that it could, in fact, top a second time and then, eventually make its way down. But that's going to happen over a period of time. Cryptocurrencies, I think, are going to react in a different way. Money needs to flow somewhere. A lot of analysts are already saying this. Money needs to go somewhere. And, if people start taking their money out of the market, where is it going to go? Well, chances are into a new emerging asset class, namely cryptocurrencies. And this is what's going to provide long-term value for those coins that have real-world utility. An example of that, guys, and, one of the coins that I do talk about on my channel that is not part of the 15 alternative cryptocurrencies is HBAR. But like I said, I am going to be opening up my portfolio, letting you guys in on my HBAR position. Many, many millions of transactions per day. This is what HBAR has achieved. Mance Harmon here on HBAR, guys, giving you some more news on the FedNow update that I posted about a couple of days ago. Listen to this.
Would end up with an account on Hedera, and every transaction would flow through Hedera. So it's a combination of the Hedera consensus service as well as the tokenization service, and it would end up being many, many millions of transactions per day at scale. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal for Hedera. It's a big deal for the industry, and we're excited to see that FedNow had the position that they're confident enough in the company at Drop and in Hedera that they decided to go ahead and make an announcement.
So big news there for Hedera and the HBAR token. This originally tweeted out by Sivo here on Twitter and retweeted out by Crypto Eddie, of course. So wanted to thank both of them. This is definitely one of those coins that I'm super excited about. I think partially because I'm kind of biased because I got in at a really, really good price. And I mean, it's a little late now to get into Hedera. I think there are better opportunities at this point. But again, we're going to cover that in the Patreon in the coming weeks. Ryan Selkis here mentioning this with regards to Coinbase. Coinbase has been really busy in the space. Coinbase launched the Stand With Crypto Alliance, an independent entity that will give 50 million Americans who own crypto a voice in Washington. Guys, this is important. This is important because of how government is dragging their feet and, what the landscape is today. It's very different around the world, but what it is today in the United States needs to be changed. Now is a critical time to push back against bad policy and advocate for sensible regulations. This grassroots organization provides people with tools to get involved at the district level. And so if you are a resident of the United States, you can sign up here, standwithcrypto.org. I will link this in the description of the video. If you haven't already, you should buy your ticket. Buy your ticket to Mazzari's Mainnet conference in September in New York City, where we have an all-star lineup for those moving the needle on the policy front live and in person. And again, you guys can register here. I will link all this in the description of the video. If you guys noticed, Stuart Alderati, first person here on the list. So, clearly a warrior in the crypto space has already fought the good fight. And we know Ripple and, especially XRP has come out as a non-security, granted that by Judge Annalisa Torres just last month. So wanted to thank Ryan Selkis just for letting us in on that. Eleanor Turret reporting that John Reed Stark has actually said that the SEC is a very non-political agency, and I think that's hogwash. This was Jay Clayton on Squawk Box yesterday, tweeted out by Digital Asset Investor. Listen to what he had to say here, guys. You're never going to believe it.
Anything going on? Anything happen? This isn't going to happen again. It's just more of the same, Jay.
Well, look, the SEC postponed the decision, but they are seeking public comment. And the landscape for Bitcoin and retail access to Bitcoin has definitely changed. And let's just look at where we are today. I, when I was SEC chair, was very skeptical of the Bitcoin trading markets. And whether you believe Bitcoin is going to go to whatever or dry up and go away, I think that's no longer the question. You had Russ Benham on. He was talking about it's clearly a commodity. It should be regulated like a commodity. We have large retail participation around the globe, and people want access to it. Now, what do we have? We have very credible financial institutions who have fiduciary duties of best interest to their customers, who are saying, we want to deliver this product, and we can do so consistent with those obligations. Last thing you have is you actually have the futures ETF trading, which we all know is an inefficient product. So my assessment looking at all of that is let's get some public comment, and then let's move on and have a spot Bitcoin ETF.
So is it a stretch to say, okay, there are securities like equities, and then there were places like First Jersey or Stratton Oakmont, or take your pick of these fly-by-night bucket shop operations, and that's akin to SBF and maybe
look the crypto markets.
FTX.
The crypto markets, okay, were rife with fraud,
but not crypto itself.
Crypto's a technology. Okay, it is a technology.
People still conflate the two and argue that crypto itself is a Ponzi scheme.
Right, but clearly distributed ledger technology is a technology that people have found efficiency in. Go back to the legislative efforts. We've talked about stablecoin before. There is little doubt that stablecoin is a very efficient way to transfer dollars around the globe. Can it be done in compliance with our AML, KYC, and other, what I would say is macro-prudential and national security laws? Yes, it can be. It can be done. We're talking about a digital dollar. So is the technology a good technology for some uses? Pretty clearly, yes.
Well, then, what's the problem then? Or you don't think it's going to be a problem much longer? Do you think Gary Gensler believes what you just said?
Well, we did, in this administration, approve a futures ETF for Bitcoin. So, that's already there.
But if that's inefficient and actually part of the problem, then why the dragging of the feet on the spot?
Well, yeah. Look, anything like this where you've had a history of really bad behavior, you do want to move slowly, and you can see that in Congress. And look, we live in a very political. I would say what percentage of this program actually touches on politics? A fair amount. Like, what is the political response to various things going to be? Yeah. When you have a fraudster like Sam Bankman-Fried, who was deeply intertwined in politics, people will want to take a pause.
So I don't really like the snaky response there from Jay Kling, but he does bring up a good point right there at the end, the fact that, if you're thinking that this is not intertwined with politics, well, you are probably very delusional, John Reed Stark. This 100% has to do with politics, and it shouldn't. Quite frankly, it just shouldn't. And then, I would love for him to get into the reason why he decided to announce the lawsuit on Ripple and XRP on his last day as commissioner at the SEC, but unfortunately we did not get that far. I gotta agree with Digital Asset Buy here. Ripple won, Jay Clayton, he lost, and now Americans who are into crypto are paying for it, unfortunately. Jack the Rippler here posting this too with regards to Binance US. They've now joined Ripple to fight customers, investors, and the entire industry with the protective order against the SEC and Gary Gensler, guys. So Binance stands out against the SEC's comprehensive probes. In a significant move, Binance, a dominant figure in the crypto world, has filed for a protective court order against the SEC. This action comes in light of what Binance describes as an extensive and unwarranted request for information from the regulatory authority. So they are standing up and not taking it anymore. Again, just one of many exchanges now that have been targeted by the SEC. The tussle between Binance and the SEC traces back to June, when the regulatory body leveled substantial allegations against both Binance and its chief executive, Changpeng Zhao. These accusations were far from minor, highlighting a purported web of deception. The SEC's 13-charge list was a comprehensive, ranging from claims of Binance artificially boosting its trading volumes to accusations of misleading investors regarding its market surveillance mechanisms. So Binance, I guess they feel confident enough that they have a strong enough case to go against these claims. So I wanted to thank Jack the Rippler just for letting us in on that, guys. In Ripple partner news, we also had Valente here going on the record. They're one of Ripple's older partners. Bullzilla here at CKJ Crypto News posting this. Haven't heard too much from CKJ recently. So Valente came out, gave a bit of a Q&A here with regards to central bank digital currencies, FedNow. Of course, we know Volante is the main technology that is integrated into the FedNow backend, and they're also a Ripple partner. Interesting to note, though, where they mention Ripple and XRP specifically in this interview. When we look at the rise of CBDCs, how the technology is going to play an important role, they mention this: the decentralized nature of cryptocurrencies has also accelerated innovation in cross-border payments, and then they use Ripple, of course, as that example. Ripple, a real-time gross settlement system, has successfully built a global payments ecosystem with the XRP cryptocurrency at its core. And, this is just one example of where, Volante, obviously a Ripple partner, talks favorably and discusses Ripple and XRP in a favorable light. And in this case, in conjunction with FedNow and central bank digital currencies. So obviously getting the message out, this is obviously playing a positive role for the landscape as a whole. Wanted to thank Bullzilla there for posting that. With regards to another Ripple partner, Latin American payments provider dLocal explores a potential sale. So perhaps another acquisition of a Ripple-enabled company, maybe the competition wants to be Ripple-enabled, wants to adopt the technology, and perhaps sees leveraging the benefits of the XRPL through a company like dLocal, maybe at a lower price. So they are a payment provider, a service business in the emerging markets, and they're exploring options regarding a potential sale, according to people familiar with the matter. They're a Uruguay-based company, which is working with a financial advisor, and they've been talking with potential buyers. And apparently this matter is not public yet, so this is kind of somewhat insider information. No final decision has been made, and dLocal could opt to remain independent. The people added dLocal, which trades in the US. So to talk a little bit about the stock here. The payments industry, though, has been consolidating for years. And guys, I've been saying this now for a while. We are going to see a lot more of these companies consolidate because the technology is available. And I think this is what Ripple's MO has been from the beginning. Expand as much as you can. Get as much integration with these smaller companies as possible. And then the bigger companies are going to want to gobble up these small companies, leverage the technology, and Bob's your uncle. XRP will be utilized worldwide, and we're already starting to see it. Last month, GTRC agreed to buy a minority stake in Fidelity National Information Services cards arm, WorldPay, in a deal valued at about $18.5 million. And I think WorldPay, too, does have a connection with Ripple, just as a side note. So some interesting news there. I guess we will have to see how this shapes up. A big bang in London, and I love Raoul Pal. He has some really good insight. He's a former executive at Goldman Sachs. He was explaining crypto regulation and how certain countries who have a history in trade are all kind of on the same page, and that's not by accident. So, of course, we got the Ripple verdict. I wanted to set this up with Caroline Bowler. And the fact that Australia is looking very closely at UK for regulations, guys, it's all going to make sense because of the intricacies regarding their partnership. Listen to this.
What's happened with the SEC, right? And a U.S. judge finding that XRP is not a security when it came to mass retail, but when it was sold to institutional participants, it was considered a security. So these nuances coming out of the U.S., do they have influence on jurisdictions like Australia? When you take a look at that, does that have a precedent-setting impact? How do you as industry leader, and how does Australia from a legal perspective view a ruling like that?
I think it's influential in the sense that, of course, what the SEC does is influential around the world. And you would, any regulator or legislator is going to look at what they do and take it into consideration. But their decision that XRP is not a security, I think, mirrors what we saw out of Japan years ago, where they said it wasn't a security. And certainly here in Australia, it didn't match up with the local tests around what a security was for XRP. You can't retrofit a lot of what we saw in traditional finance into crypto because of the fact that this is so new, and there is then that opportunity for nuance, which nobody really wants, like, apart from lawyers perhaps, but certainly anybody who's running a business doesn't want there to be any legal nuance. You want that clarity. For me, certainly sitting here in Australia, I look at what the UK is doing very closely. Australia looks very closely at the UK anyway. There's obviously the historical connections between the two countries, but from what I can understand, there is a lot of a very close relations between the two from a government and regulatory point of view.
Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I will link this in the description if you want to watch the rest of that clip. But she basically says, Australia looks to the UK for guidance. And basically, the fact that everybody looks to the SEC, the entire globe looks to the SEC for guidance, every country, because the United States is such an influential trading partner that the rest of the world really does have to pay attention. Okay, now we've got Raoul Pal on this podcast explaining how the market's going to transform, and these specific trading partners getting onto the same page with regards to crypto regulations, not by accident. Listen to this.
The UK says, forget it, we'll do it. It became what's known as the Eurodollar market, which is the overseas market for dollar borrowing and lending. That becomes we don't know the size of it, but let's call it a $400 trillion market.
Whoa.
And then the US, then we get this big breakthrough in derivatives. The US has got the Chicago Board of Trade doing futures and options and all of this stuff. But we start to figure out more complicated structures, things like swaps. And the US stops its banks doing it by its use of regulatory capital. They're like, no, this is inefficient. You can't do this. The UK and Europe went, well, we're going to regulate and allow it to happen because it's big. We've seen this before. That becomes a quadrillion-dollar market.
Jesus.
That's why every single bank from about 1985, well, particularly after the Big Bang in London, so let's call it from about 1990 to about 2008, 2010, all the major banks' largest operations were London. So Goldman Sachs' biggest operation, most profitable, London. Merrill Lynch, London. Merrill Lynch is different because it was a brokerage firm. But JP Morgan, they're all London. So London, if you've been watching the news, is going to do the same thing. It's called regulatory arbitrage. London is putting together a very sensible set of crypto rules, as has Europe, as has Switzerland, as has Singapore, as has Hong Kong, as has Australia. Okay, there's its old trading group that it did with Eurodollars and it did with derivatives and it did with foreign exchange, all got their regulations in place. The UK is the hub at the middle, and it will capture the lion's share. And before you know it, Coinbase, Gemini, and everybody will move to London.
Okay, so who was it? London, Europe, Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong. I think there was one other one there. Switzerland, I think, was the other one. And isn't it funny how all these countries are on board with crypto regulation, and they were some of the first regions or countries that were. Now, something interesting that piqued my attention when looking into this further, Ripple joins ISDA, expanding into the $1.2 quadrillion derivatives market alongside JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and BNY Mellon. Did you hear how big this market is going to be? Okay, and he was talking about some of the biggest banks in London from about 1990 to about 2010. And Digital Perspectives here also noticed this: London looking to pull more businesses and capital from the US. Look closely, rather timely, that Chris Larsen just happened to be there too. Hey, Chris, should we send boxes for a move? This was at a time when we thought maybe Ripple was going to move their head offices to London. I think Pompliano has a bunch of leftovers from his pizza box campaign we could use. Now, this was from May of 2022, but it is very, very interesting now, looking at it from a different lens, why Ripple was maybe eyeing London, why they were eyeing Hong Kong, Singapore. Let's not forget, these are all regions with cryptocurrency regulatory clarity, but Ripple has significant partnerships in London, in Europe, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Australia, and in Switzerland, all 6 regions of the world. And this was a clip from when Chris Larsen visited London, guys. Watch this.
The focus of this trip, though, is money. Next stop, a billionaire round table.
So Silicon Valley, London have a lot in common.
Fair to say these tech big hitters could lose $1 million down the back of the sofa and barely notice. The aim? To prize investments away from the Bay Area and over to its biggest tech competitor, Silicon London. The view may be more spectacular, but in truth, more and more venture capital has been flowing London's way in recent years, and the mayor promises as more and more investment comes, tens of thousands of jobs will follow.
I remember back in 2022 when we saw this and we were like, hey, wait, isn't that Chris Larsen? Not showcased prominently by any means in this particular clip. However, with a discerning eye, the XRP community has definitely noticed Chris Larsen popping up in this clip. Oh, look, there he is again. And right at the beginning too, There he is shaking hands with an official. So is it all by design? $1.2 quadrillion in ISDA, the historic trading partnerships from certain regions of the world all getting onto crypto regs, not by coincidence. Obviously, they've had a plan from the beginning. And guys, this just bodes well for XRP utility down the road. That's just my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.